think everything is working. Looks like it's working. And we got... Okay then. That was certainly interesting. What happened? Sorry, apparently there's been technical difficulties, but that's okay, that's okay. We should be chilling now. Can I hear myself? I feel like I should also, like, boost my mic. I feel like I'm, like, super quiet. But, maybe I'm not. Who knows? Alright. Okay, and Restream chat seems to actually be working this time. Which is always good. Alright. Let's get into it, I suppose. What is this? Oh, I didn't rename these. These are the eyelashes. And then these are the eyes. Okay. So, first off, what should we do first? Let's go ahead and set up the armature. So that means weight painting. If that's the case, let's go ahead and yeah, this is a copy of the mesh. So let's go ahead and convert this to a mesh so we have all of the vertices to work with. Looks good. Probably gonna have to do a little bit more work on the fingers, but that's okay. Mostly just to get them to bend correctly. That's certainly not end of the world. Let's go ahead and convert this to a mesh. And make sure that the head is looking okay, because I know we had a bunch of intricacies yesterday. Although it's looking super clean, which I am pretty happy about, except for whatever the heck is going on here. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, no, that's cool. Okay. Now we're going to take the Rigify human. Should we do? No, we're gonna do the human, and then we're actually gonna move the mesh into place rather than the other way around. Actually, we're gonna parent these to the head, and then parent these to the body. There we go. Everything should, yep. Guess I can hide these now. And we're just gonna sort of get this somewhat into place. Ensure the feet are on the ground, and the head doesn't actually need to line up because we're gonna delete most of these bones. So that won't be too big a deal. Get everything pretty good and lined up. Oh, this neck is not... Neck is not necking. That's good enough. I'm not gonna go... yeah, I'm not gonna go too far into that. We are going to come over here, and then... It's like the armature, and really just select... all of the head bones, and then just get rid of them. That's gonna clean up everything. And then we can come over here and say in front. And then we can start actually aligning things. Which actually, I could probably move the body forward to get the hips closer lined up. And then we're just gonna need to take the, well, everything else. And make it actually line up. I should have turned on mirroring. That would have been smart. Here we go. Yes, these are all Rigify. I normally use Rigify. It's just a lot easier than, I mean, basically anything else. But honestly, mostly just so I don't have to spend a whole bunch of time actually like making the rig, and I can just make it work, sort of thing. These fingers always give me trouble. I am actually I'm gonna keep the fingers in the actual rig fairly standard, I guess. Like just how they come. And then actually move the mesh into it instead of the other way around. Except for this thumb. I'm gonna move the thumb a little bit. But that's mostly because Rigify is sort of particular about how it actually generates the rig. And I don't really want to mess any of this up or like give them any weird rotations or anything. So we're just gonna get the thumb more into place. And then move the mesh from there. But otherwise, nearly everything else stays pretty much exactly the same. Hands and feet are always the things that give me the most trouble. With the feet, it's mostly because I don't put enough vertices down here to actually, you know, make them bend properly. But I think I did this time, so that should be okay. Hello. Just make sure this is actually at the heel. This is good. Everything seems fairly okay. I need to move this back. Actually, I just gonna need to move the whole spine back. If I could move these together, that would be great. Oh, yeah. Getting them in place isn't really the issue. It's more rather getting the bones to deform properly when the mesh is actually generated. A lot of problems come, at least when you're using Rigify, a lot of problems will come when you're generating the fingers or whatever. If they aren't bent exactly like this, that they'll actually be like slightly rotated, and then your fingers will like curve off to the side or just curve backwards or be all weird. So it's a lot easier to just move your mesh into place than it is to move the bones into place in most cases. When you're doing like super custom stuff, which we're not, but when you are doing super custom stuff with Rigify, it doesn't really matter all that much because you can sort of counteract it before it happens. But we're not doing anything super fancy. We're just trying to get this just trying to get it working. Hold on. I need to isolate these. Just really get them locked into place. Okay, so how many do we have? We should have 2 in between each joint. That doesn't seem to be the case though. Okay. Cool. I'm aligning it to the wrong one, aren't I? Yes, I am. Seems we have somewhat mangled it this way. That's okay. Well, now we can come into here and actually give everything their proper bins, I guess. There's probably a way I could simplify that. But we're just going to do it like this. Because I don't need all of that detail. Just a little normal displacement. Signify the nail. Cool. Now for the next thingy. Oh, this isn't mirrored anymore. Ducks. Hold on. Bum bum bum. Mirror. Bisect. Cool. Now it's mirrored. That's not what I wanted. And now we work on this one. Also, sorry I'm being so quiet again. I my bad. Takes a lot of patience, I suppose. That looks good enough. Which one are we aligning to now? Should be this one. Yeah, that's probably what I'm gonna do. Um, I was also gonna do that yesterday, but YouTube seems to be being really weird about the actual VOD. Like, it's not letting me download it. Which, you know, I kind of need to do to edit it, but that's okay. I'm probably gonna download it from Twitch this time, so I actually turned VODs back on Twitch. Which you can absolutely go and watch yesterday's on YouTube. But you in fact cannot watch it on Twitch. My streaming setup was kind of a mess, I'm not gonna lie to you. I wasn't expecting to, you know, really do anything super important or whatever. So I spent the better part of yesterday just fixing everything. So we're all nice and set up now. Um, I mean, as you know, we got the Discord all set up, looking chillin', I guess. We're vibing. I really wish I wouldn't have deleted the one from a long time ago. I mean, I've been on YouTube and on Twitch for a very long time. I just haven't done anything to actually try. But then so many of y'all showed up yesterday, so I was like, you know what? Let's do it. So, here we are. That's not what I wanted. That's what I wanted. Get this straightened, and then we'll do all that. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna try. I'm going to attempt to stream probably 2 to 3 times a week, minimum. So, you know, hopefully. Plus, I actually have, like, an idea of what I want to do now. Um, that's been a lot of what's actually been holding me back, is that I just don't know what to do. You know what I mean? But y'all seem to be very interested in my Blender process, and I love teaching Blender, so this is what we're doing now. I'm not gonna spend terribly long on that. I am... Oh, I'm gonna go ahead and pull this back in, though. Just a wee bit. And then for this one, we will actually move the armature. Again, just a little bit. Also going to recircularize all of these. This is probably going to mess some stuff up, but like they're way out of whack. Circle. There we go. That's what we're looking for. Then we can just take all of these, and these, and then just make them, whoops, individual origins. Probably should have done this from the beginning, but it's fine. I'll just move these back on a little bit. Cool. That's better. I feel like this, yeah, this needs to curve in more. Okay, cool. And it will look fine because this is stylized, so we're not going to worry about weird deformation. Cool. Now the thumb. What is up, Deforo? I am doing good so far, for sure. Actually got all the streaming things working yesterday, so. Can't say I'm doing too shabby. Looks complicated as fuck. We're about to get to the complicated part. We are going to recircularize these already. Does that give us a good No, of course it doesn't. Why would it? That line in place. Circle that. Get these back. And move this back into place. Cool. Now we take this, inset it, and smooth it out. Then we take it and move it up. Cool. There is the hands. I hope. I think. Possibly. Manually weight painted. Yes, that is what we're going to do in a minute. We will let the auto rigger do its thing, but we are going to have to go back and manually do a lot of it, just because it's not always perfect by any means. So we're gonna go back and make sure that it captures certain things, like the actual elbow geometry up here. If you remember yesterday, we did this specific shape so that we could deform it properly. The auto rigger is not going to catch that. It's going to try to just do the loops, and it's not going to look right. Same thing with the torso and chest. It's just not going to get that. Another thing too, I'm not sure if you saw, but I deleted the face rig, like, entirely. So we're going to use shape keys for that, which that'll probably be something that we do later, after we get, like, the hair, the clothes, stuff like that. Just because the face shape might change, the actual geometry might change in those processes, so I don't want to spend a whole bunch of time doing that and then just have to redo it. So yeah, we'll use shape keys for the head. Just have the basic deform bones to get it pointed in the right direction. And then everything else should be okay. The hip area is also probably going to give us some trouble, but that should be okay. But yes, to answer your question directly, we will be manually weight painting most of it. Or I guess some of it. Most of it will be automatic. That being said, I think we're actually done to take that step. Let me make sure this is actually all inside, other than the legs. The legs are fine. That's just because we have them bent backwards a little bit. Yeah, that should be okay. So let's take all of it, and with automatic weights. Right, I forgot to unparent these. Whoops. Clear parent. Then I need to... Nope. I should have moved the... Hold on. Let me do this. Slightly differently. Oh. Okay, there we go. Never mind. I was like, oh no, I changed the scale. Okay. Let's move the armature to it. It's just going to be easier. Because I have separate objects. I forgot. Make sure everything's still lined up properly. I'm actually gonna drop this head bone just a wee bit. Yeah, I did. That is a-okay. Speaking of, let me go ahead and do that just to be 100% sure everything is all set up. Okay, now make sure the armature is selected first. Yeah, we should be good with automatic weights. Cool. Now let's see how messed up this actually is. Ooh. Yeah. I also forgot about shoulders. Shoulders are another thing that's going to be interesting. And don't worry, we're not actually going to be using this rig. I say we're not. We're going to generate the rig, so all the constraints are there. Actually, this captured this curve fairly well. Not like exactly, but fairly well, actually. Just gonna sort of get an idea what I need to actually do. That actually doesn't curve too terribly either. I don't like that it completely flattens everything else, but that's okay. Okay. Let's go ahead and generate the rig. I forgot to apply it once again. Apply all transforms. Hello? What is going on? Hello? Thank you. I really should line this up to where the feet are on the floor, huh? It's fine. I'm not gonna worry about that too much. What do you mean it's missing a clavicle? It has a clavicle. It's right here. I'm actually gonna leave these tweak bones on. It's gonna look a little bit more complicated, but it's fine. I also don't normally use FK. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. But You know, it has a clavicle. The knee bend actually looks so good. Much better than it normally comes out naturally, I guess. So is the foot rotation. Foot rotation is actually pretty solid. I think the shoulder is actually like okay, mostly. We could definitely do some tweaking, but I think it's okay. And the head bones actually seem to be parented properly. It's unmangled a mess. Oh, hello? I don't know why voice access just opened. I also seem to have moved these back at some point. Whoops. Okay. There we go. Yeah, head seems to be parented mostly correctly. I think I need to, fix that, but that should be okay. Yeah, we don't have any face bumps. Yeah, these are certainly parented. Odd. Okay. Well, now it's time to actually get into weight painting. Which will be fun. Can I select the mesh, please? Thank you. Weight paint. And we'll turn on, mirror. And then we'll just start going down the line. Sort of trying to figure out where everything is deforming. I don't think that's correct. That shouldn't be changing anything down here. Spine 1. That looks good. Also looks good. Let me hide this so I can see a little bit better. What is actually happening right here? Why is it so weird? It's probably because my mesh is weird, huh? That's fine. Not a big deal. That's all the head. This, once again, should not be affecting anything down here. We might actually need to add an extra bone for the buttocks, if you will. Go ahead and smooth that back out. Once you're done painting it, just right so it doesn't change. Yes. Yeah, active group is locked. I normally don't, just because I normally will do this like 6 or 7 times, I'm not gonna lie to you. because things just like won't work properly, or something's just acting weird, so I have to go back during like certain moves. So I tend to try to keep everything, I guess, modular, so I can go back later, because that happens a lot. Going back and like redoing specific parts or whatever, for like a specific move or a specific instance where something just breaks, it's better to just not, in my opinion. That's just from my personal experience. Yeah, but here's the knee thing I was talking about, that the auto rigger just will not understand. So we're gonna move that way back. Make sure it's nice and smooth. And then add a little bit more juice in here and smooth that out. Now I'm just doing like a sort of first pass right now. Just based on like what I know, what I saw that needs to be changed or whatever. I'm not doing anything super crazy, though. We can always come back later and fix anything. Whoops. That's not what I wanted. Heal. This actually almost got the elbow. Almost. Oh, and then we need to delete quite a bit from this side. There we go. Then we just need to flip this. So this needs to have less influence, and then more influence. Why does the hand have, like, nothing? I'm gonna leave the hand alone until we have some problems. This needs to be vastly reduced. These need to affect nearly nothing. On males, it is actually a little bit different. This would be totally fine on a male character, because the pectoral muscles actually do affect that, but for a female rig, you're not going to, that's probably not going to be your main focus of the breastbones. Let's put it that way. Well, let's see how that feels now. Oh. Are they... Yeah? I'm assuming yesterday was just a lucky break, I guess. I don't know. But I honestly don't really mind. I've never honestly cared like too much about views or whatever. It's not what I'm doing this for. I mean, do you think I should turn it off? I also see that it says 0 viewers. I have a few people on Twitch, but... Fair enough. Yeah, I normally play copyright music, I'm not gonna lie to you. That's why there's no other VODs. Because they're all taken down because of copyright. And I just kind of got tired of taking them down manually. Because there's no option on YouTube to just not post them. And then I kept getting, like, copyright notifications or whatever, so I just stopped. But... what am I looking for? This. Went a little bit too high over here. Wait, do I have that backwards? Do I need more here? I think I need more here. Yeah, there we go. That's closer to what we're looking for. Hmm. We might just take a might just take a shape key to that. Oh, wait. No, never mind. I don't have these upside down. Never mind. Just kidding. I think I just need more. TBH. No, more is bad. Less is worse. I want these to fold in on each other. That's, yeah, more like this. That's the goal. I don't want them to move out of the way. That should be okay. It's not gonna look super great at like more extremes, but we'll just say that it's fast moving and call it good. Okay, now we need to check the legs. So we'll go ahead and just drop this. Move one leg out to get the sideways and prop the hip. See, this is good. These are really good knee bends, actually. I really like that. I don't exactly like how pointy it gets, but that should be okay. Once we have like textures and everything over it, that'll hide that pretty well. I think we need a little bit less right under here. I think there's just too much conflicting. That's what's happening there. Can I? Oh, I'm not in object mode. That might help. Weight paint. So we need to take, what are we looking for? Okay, so here's a question. Do we need to take more on or more off? More off stretches that, which we don't want. Or more on, I should say. That should be okay. Yes and no. Something that I personally do, which that's just because of like the games that I make, sort of thing. And that is the main focus of this, by the way, is the actual characters themselves are like, they're not interchangeable. But that's why I have the head separate. Because in this case, I can swap out the entire lower body for a different head. So like the character equips like a different armor set, I just swap out the entire lower mesh. That keeps it cleaner, in terms of code, and also it's way more performant. But then again, like I said, that's mostly to do with the things that I actually make, rather than good practice for absolutely everything. I think that's better. Although I think we took, or we should add a little bit more to the, or at least smooth it out. on the pelvises to really get that curve in there. And then also add a little bit more back here and down here, sort of thing. Definitely not this much, but we'll smooth it out in a second. But just to get a lot more dynamic movement out of this, rather than it feeling so static. We also probably should have added some extra bones back there, back here, just some extra tweak bones, but Rigify does come with some, so I think that should be okay. That'll serve our purposes fairly okay. We are going to add a lot more here though, because that's where the actual hip bone is, like on your skin, or I guess on a regular body, it'll show up a lot denser right there than just about anywhere else. So we're going to try to replicate that a little bit. I think that's enough. That should be okay for the pelvis at least. I build a reference board for my character. Nice. If you want some tips on that too, I can show you, like, you know, some of my process. Obviously after we're done walking through this a little bit. That is absolutely something we can add to the agenda. I think it's also just affecting this side too much. See, I don't want that cavitation. I do want it to affect that, but it shouldn't be cavitating like that. There we go. That's more along the lines of what we're looking for. Cool. That's the main thing with legs. You want this like the actual thigh to fold into your hip bones, because that's what they do. You don't want them to do something like this, where, you know, it's like pushing in on your actual hip bones, because if you actually look at your hip muscles, there are no muscles there. Like, these are not connected. They're connected over here, rather than in here. So you just want to make sure that that's sort of translated, and actually connect them out here rather than in here. You want nearly nothing to affect your actual, I guess that would be your core muscles. You want it to affect everything else. That's sort of why, that's why we did it, like these elbows like this. Obviously, when you actually bend your elbow, it curves at about a 45, which this isn't exactly a 45, but that also keeps everything looking okay in these more like exaggerated, I guess, poses. And in this case, this weirdness up here wouldn't ever happen. This is more of a more of a direction issue rather than a rigging issue. You're gonna want your shoulders to actually like move along with your arms a lot. I mean, you know, that's kind of the whole point. So this is okay. Like that weird bending is more than fine. That this is more along the lines of what we want, except this seems to be curving weird. There we go. That's odd. That might. I think that's also just a posing issue. I don't think that's. Oh, that's definitely a posing issue. Okay, well that's just a limitation, I guess. I don't think that's something that we need to worry about too terribly much. Oh, that is another thing with this rig. The actual like ligaments and stuff will stretch, which is good, especially for stylized stuff like this. But is there an option to simulate muscles to in Blender, since this is very time consuming to manually check every vertex? Yes, in a way. It's more time consuming than you think. If you want to do like actual proper simulated muscle groups, you'll have to have a bone for every single muscle group on top of the actual skeleton. What we're doing here is basically just creating the skeleton and then letting the vertexes move in an unsimulated way, which is going to lead to a lot of weirdness. Like, I mean, you saw a second ago the arm twisting all weird, but it's nowhere near as complicated as making an actual like full-blown muscle simulation rig. And plus, you know, you'll still have to weight paint all of that. Also, I think we got the hand pretty damn good. It's not perfect by any means, but like, it'll work. It'll work just fine. Yeah. Okay. Actually, we should... I think there's a way to copy vertex data now. Maybe not. Okay. Do we want to do the head? Or do we want to just hide it and animate without it? Oh, no. Muscle simulation needs infinitely more weight painting. Infinitely more weight painting. Muscle sim doesn't when you're using very specific metahumans, which is the Unreal Engine's like not built-in, but I guess like built-in character creator thing. But those aren't for games. Those are for like movies and video production. You should never ever use a metahuman in a game. They're just way too big. They're way too big. I will say, if you're going for video production, like especially with realism, metahumans are a pretty good way to go, but you know. I mean, that's fair. That's fair. Um, do you want to just do like a walk cycle? We can just do a walk cycle, run cycle, the basics. Oh, I actually didn't check that these were E. Yeah, see that's also something that you really don't want. I think we can fix that pretty quickly by just adding some more spine weights up here though. Oh, and just a heads up with weight painting, um, a lot of it is trial and error. Um, so don't feel bad if things like come out weird like that. It's if you do it like I do it, um, it's the longest part is weight painting. Which I mean, we've spent what, an hour and a half weight painting. Um, it's definitely the longest part outside of just modeling it. Um, if you're doing like a retop, like where you actually have a sculpt that you're like making quads over, that is going to take probably the longest, to actually like sculpt it and get everything working. But just getting the model and weight painting are the longest parts. Everything else is completely fine. You know what I mean? It's super fast after that. But now that we have, definitely not perfect, but now that we have a sort of basic um, weight painting going, I actually prefer the um, the animation tab. A lot of people don't. I do. And how I have it set up is not like it's not the default stuff. I'll throw on my Patreon um in a little bit the my base Blender files. And it comes basically just like this. It has a bunch of setup for cycles and Eevee rendering. It automatically has a bunch of stuff for outputting videos and stuff like that. I'll throw it up on my Patreon for free. And yeah, but this is essentially how I have it set up. I have over here, it's normally in rendered mode, but I'm streaming, so I'm going to keep it in textured. Without any of the overlays. So none of this stuff. It's just the actual model. I also normally have this in a camera, but I'm not going to worry about that. And then the actual graph editor for curves, which I don't use too often, but it is useful. And then obviously the actual main viewport and the timeline. A lot of people will use the dope sheet. I don't like using the dope sheet. It's just not something that I'm super used to. I'm actually gonna move chat out of the way a little bit. We're just gonna put y'all in the corner over here, just so you can see everything going on over here. Okay. So normally, this is at 0, 0. I didn't do that, so I would personally recommend using or keeping everything at 0, 0. I just didn't. But what that also will allow me to do is actually rotate the entire mesh around its center, which is something that I personally prefer. But if you're just going for like a game or something, you actually want this at 0, 0, the root, because your character is going to be at 0, 0. I use Godot, so I just move it up, sort of thing. But again, that's just up to your game style and, you know, what you're doing it for. If you're doing it for someone else, especially, leave the character at 0, 0. Like where the actual feet are at 0, 0. But regardless, we're going to get our 0, 0, which would be... So it would be here, which seems to be at -2. So we're going to go ahead and put in a plane. I'm going to scale this up a little bit. At -2. A little bit lower than -2. There we go. And this just so that I actually have a ground plane I mean, literally, but a ground plane to reference off of. Even if you're doing it at 0, 0, I would recommend just actually putting a mesh there. What you actually want is to barely be able to see the feet for games specifically. But that's up to a matter of preference. If you don't like it, you don't like it. And I am also going to switch this back to studio just so we have less crazy colors and all that. Okay. So a regular... Oh, wait. This has been many years of experience, practice, random work for random people. It's okay. You will get there. And like I said the other day, I am learning literally every single day. It's just, this is my passion. You know what I mean? I do this 24/7. If I'm not coding, I'm, you know, in Blender messing around. But now that we're actually getting into animation, this is going to get somewhat technical. And there's going to be a lot of things that you can absolutely break on purpose to make something look better. But regardless, a regular walk cycle, a typical quote-unquote video game walk cycle is 24 to 26 frames. I normally keep I normally keep to 24 because I have Blender at 24 FPS, which when you export it, it will export at 24 FPS. I appreciate it, Devoro. Blender will export things, like animation specifically. It will bake them at 24 FPS, and then whatever game you import it to will then just scale it to whatever frame rate it's at. So that's certainly something to keep in mind. Just keep the frame rate at 24 and your walk cycles at 24 to 26. If you prefer 12 frames, you prefer 12 frames. Especially on like lower end hardware, that's totally fine. But Blender will export it at 24 to other engines at least. If you want to do like the anime style sort of thing and have it rendered at 12, like you're rendering on 2s basically, then you can absolutely just do stepped interpolation. That's what it's called. So if I come in here and we'll just make 2 random keyframes, we'll go here and then we'll go to frame 2 and then go to here. See, normally Blender, hold on, that's really fast. Blender will sort of move it linearly, or not linearly, but oh my gosh, what is this called? It'll move it in a Bezier. So, you know, you can move these handles around and, you know, whatever. But if you don't want that, you can actually just hit T and then go to constant. Oh, I guess you do actually have to select the frames. Just hit T, go to constant, and you'll see that it actually just snaps it into place, which I have motion blur on, so we can turn that off. But as you can see, it'll just snap it into place. So if you wanted to animate something on 2s, whoops, hold on. I promise I'm a professional. And I have these backwards. Don't worry, we'll get there. Okay, yeah, if you wanted to animate something on 2s, then you just have multiple frames in between. But if you didn't want to animate them on 2s, and you just wanted them to be like super smooth or whatever, which is what I'm going to do, then you'll just turn off the stepped interpolation. That all being said, I suppose we should get into it before I get distracted again. Also, something that I would absolutely recommend is having a 0 width frame. It's not very good there. That's fair. We're actually going to get into why that's bad later. I will explain that in a second. Why that's something that's not preferred, I guess. But let's get this walk cycle done before I get distracted. Okay. We have our ground plane. It's somewhere around here. I'm actually going to... Can I... Where'd it go? There it is. Going to extrude this ever so slightly so we can see it from the sides. Cool. Okay, first things first. Or at least the first thing I always do is just drop it, like immediately, a lot lower than you probably think it should go. We're also not going to worry too much about the hands, but I am going to move them down so they're not super in the way, I guess. And then what we're actually going to do is we're going to set up the, or what are called hit poses. So in a walk cycle, the actual hit pose is like when your foot actually hits the ground, that your heel hits the floor. Now this is a fairly long stride, so we're gonna pull it in just a little bit, just to give everything slight curves. And as you can see, but like I said, this is just the exact moment where your heel actually plants, and your balance will start to shift forward onto, I guess, the left leg. This is also where we're going to take the hips and move them. We're going to move them to the side, actually. We're not going to rock them. That's mostly because this foot currently still has all of the weight of the body. Whoops, that is the wrong button. Still the wrong button. So obviously the hips are going to be, you know, a little bit more weighted onto that leg. So we want to move them up just a little bit, so we get this sort of slant here. I feel like I'm like stumbling over my words, but you get the point. Then we're going to do the exact same thing, but Blender is kind of cool. I mean, in a lot of ways, but you just hit A and then Control C and then Control Shift V. That will actually flip it. And it'll flip all your keyframes. So now you essentially instantly have everything that you needed. Now, that being said, it seems that I did not keyframe these at the beginning. That's fine. And then you just take A again, and then you duplicate these keyframes all the way to 24. Now you have a perfectly fine walk cycle. That being said, there is some weird pauses in there, and that's because you actually want 23 frames. Now it is a perfect loop. That's just kind of how it works, sort of thing. Like if you want a 24 frame loop, then you actually need to animate 23 frames. So when it gets back to frame 1, it'll blend into it just fine. And again, we're shooting at 24, so you're literally never going to notice the difference. But anyways, now we're going to go to frame 6 in between these two frames, and then figure out which foot is sliding backwards. So that'll be the left foot. And then we're just going to reset this, and then lift up the foot that's sliding forward. And you want a slight angle on it. You don't want it to be, you know, like this, because that just looks weird in passing. You want a slight angle on it, so when it, you know, actually goes forward, we can have a snap over here, which I'll show you what that means in a second. But that's looking good. Okay, so we're gonna do the same thing. We're going to Control C, and when you do, you know, Control C, make sure your mouse is in this window, or you're gonna copy the keyframes, and you want to copy the pose, not the keyframes. Anyways, we're going to again Control Shift V, and now we have a reversed passing pose. So now instantly we have a pretty good walk cycle, at least in the feet. Now obviously you can tell that this is not really what we're going for, but it's pretty close. That being said, one thing that we can instantly do to make it better is actually shift the weight about right here. So a couple frames after the actual weight shift happens, your body is actually going to take up a little bit of the slack. And I mean tiny bits of the slack. I don't know why these aren't... Okay, anyways. Tiny bit of the slack. Going to duplicate these and move it to the other pose. Now the tiny bit of bounce, and it's tiny, but that will make or break basically anything. Another thing too, right after this shift happens, as you can tell that we're in the passing pose now, what's actually going to happen with the hips is they're going to sort of twist into this. And again, this is very, very tiny, very tiny. So we're going to want to replicate that again. So during this passing pose, we're just going to reverse paste it. Very tiny movements. Micro movements will make or break any animation that you're doing ever. Like if you have a longer scene character. Yes. That's more where the non-linear animation will come into play. So if you're doing a proper Blender animation, you'll make what's called NLA strips, or non-linear animation strips. And then you can just cycle them, you can add modifiers to them, you can stack them, you can blend them. You basically turn the animation into a clip, like in a video editing software. And then it just layers all of them on top of each other, you know, whatever. But that's more later down the road. We'll get to that in a second. Don't worry. Oh, I need the graph editor. So now, what do we need? Oh, we need the snap. Something else that totally happens. If you look at the walk cycle that we have now, it's very rolly, which is fine. That, you know, could happen, I guess. But most of the time, you actually want to plant the foot. Again, just a couple frames after the hit event, I guess. You'll want to plant the foot, and same thing on the other side. You'll just want to plant it, and again, instantly just better. I can't exactly tell you what a lot of these I guess like do, but in combination they'll make your animations infinitely better. Again, just tiny micro movements, especially when we get to the run cycles. The run cycles, we animate every single frame. But now that we have the lower body moving, actually go ahead and get rid of that. We need to get the upper body moving. So we'll go ahead and go to frame 1, which is our hit pose on the left side. So we need to twist the entire body off to the other side. And again, this is very small. It's another one of those things where you really don't want to move too much. Or it's just not gonna look good. And even this, I think, is too much. So we'll go ahead and move it back ever so slightly. That's better. And then again, during the weight shift, where the hips actually shift, you're going to want to move the shoulders in somewhat of the same direction, just to make sure that you're not off balance, sort of thing. Again, tiny movements, tiny movements. And we're actually going to add a little bit to this pop here, mostly because this is a female model. There we go. Tiny movements. I cannot stress enough how much tiny movements change everything. Cannot stress it enough. Well, now we're going to fix the hands. Yeah, okay. So we're actually gonna start at the passing poses. Or the passing frames, I guess. Yep, that's what we're going for. And then we're gonna go ahead and copy that to the other side. And then we're going to copy both of these and paste both of them here and get rid of this one. So now the hand should be, if I get rid of the other random frames, and should be perfectly at the sides. Okay. Now for a video game character, you actually want these to stay like pretty much in the same spot, but we're not going to worry about that too much, and we're just going to pretend like they're not going to be holding anything. DeForo, I think you just want to see the hip sway, the womanly hip sway, if you will. But yes, I will even pop this. Okay, we can do that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'll fix the hands and then we'll do that. We'll do that. Okay. One thing with the hands that I've actually done backwards like most of my animating career, is you actually want them opposite of the feet, I guess. Um, which again is something I've literally done backwards most of my career. I normally keep them alongside the feet. I don't know why, but that's just wrong. To say the least. Now we're going to copy this pose, and we're not going to paste it here. We're actually just going to paste it on the first and final frame. So it comes back to the center like that. And then we're going to work on the first and center frame backward swing. Now, something that I normally do is actually offset the backward swing and make it hold back here a little longer. But we are just going to get the arc going first. Once we have the arc going, we'll actually set up, the rest of it. And go ahead and paste this to the other side. There we go. Now we have that arc going. But as you can see here, somewhat clearly, it's not exactly that natural bounce that, we had going a second ago. It's more of like a power walk, and that's, again, not what we're going for. So this is where we would actually offset these, which is going to be a little bit odd, but this is why we want the 0th frame. I've seen people oh, for sure, for sure. But I meant like where the hands will actually arc along with the leg. Like this hand would be forward when this leg was. Like they would just track each other. But that's not how humans walk. And I don't know why I didn't get that for the longest time. But, But the hands in pockets thing, yes, for sure. Yeah, okay. This is where it gets sort of snappy for a second. But what we actually want to do is have just a little bit more tilt and a little bit more back where the arm is nearly completely straight. That's going to give us a proper little pop-up in the back. Maybe? Question mark? Did I do this wrong? No. I just didn't do it up here. Okay, same thing up here. We want to offset this back one and then have a sort of leading falling animation, essentially. So it comes up a little bit, quote unquote, too much, which we could actually probably offset these even more just to give us a little bit more schwang. That's good. Cool. So now we'll just do the same thing to the other side. So we'll go ahead and copy this pose, paste that pose, and that should be okay. Let's go ahead and get rid of that. And then we will take... Sorry, there's a lot going on. Yeah, we'll take this pose and go ahead and flip this around to the other side. Wait, okay, now I'm really confused. Did I already do that? Oh, because I deleted the wrong pose. Whoops. Okay, cool. Anyways, now we copy this pose and flip it around to the other side. Like so. Copy this pose and just make sure that this follows it. And I think the arms are swinging a little bit too wide. So we're just going to take the actual these and move them in a little bit more. Although I think we can just like permanently move them in. Cool. Now let's get your little pop in place, shall we? Okay, where does it actually take the weight? Because that has a lot to do with it. There we go. So when it actually takes the weight, we need to actually we can almost just like reset it. That might be what we do. So we'll take this, and then when this foot takes the weight, we'll reset it. And then in passing, we'll get a little pop. Is that a better pop for you, DeForo? I feel like the arms still feel a little bit heavy. So we'll probably just take them up a little bit in passing. That's better. We should probably also... I feel like we should bring them in a little bit more. I think they swing out too much. Cool. So now we'll keep them from going back too terribly much. Oh, I seem to not have this. Interesting. Okay. Let's go ahead and grab that then. Cool. And then we will move them back in. So this is the pop of sorts, yeah. Why is that hand stuttering? That's what I want to know. Actually, the frame rate is stuttering too. There we go. I think that might have just been the frame rate. Cool. We will do the same thing for the other side then. We'll take this, go to frame 10, paste that on the other side, take this, copy this to the other side. Okay, now they're both doing it. What did I mess up? We got a good fall. These should be exactly the same, and they're not. Interesting. And this one doesn't even have those frames. Okay. We seem to have, like, royally messed it up, but not irreparably. See, this goes super slow. Maybe that's what's happening. Maybe on... we just remove these. No. Hmm. Oh, I think the hips are okay. It's just the hands. They're like stuttering, and I don't know why. I do think we can go down a little bit more on the hit, can't we? Hold on. Let me just try the hands again and see if we can get them working. Stuff happens. Should be on frame 12. Frame 1. So this should be back. Although I think we determined that it shouldn't go back too far. Then frame 24 should be pretty forward. And we're gonna move them in just a little bit. Cool. Then we get a full swing. Pins are missing follow through. Right. Oh my. Okay. Thank you. Yep. Yep. Does that pop down so much? There we go. I just need to copy this to the other side. Yes, I will fix the fingers in a second. I think that will most certainly also help. Okay, Control C. This is frame 12, so this needs to be frame 1. And frame 13, so this is frame 2. Wait, why is there no... Okay, hold on. There we go. Then we need the backswing. Cool. Then we just need to take... I guess we need the forward swing, huh? Cool. Now we need to take this part and flip around to that side. think we could do that with the fingers, actually. Paimon from Genshin? Question mark? Want to learn Blender? What should I do? Any suggestions where to start? The legendary donut. Honestly, I can't really recommend those tutorials, the donut tutorials. Um, Mostly because I mean, don't get me wrong, really good tutorials. He just adheres to Blender's limitations, and Blender doesn't have those. You can do whatever you want. Um, and I mean literally whatever you want. You can do 2D animation, you can do, actual VFX, you can do completely simulated everything. There's smoke simulations, water simulations, obviously animation. You can do literally anything. So just find something that you like and then stick to it. Just figure that part out. Um, but if you're trying to do something specific, don't get bogged down by everything else going on. Because Blender can do literally anything. So a lot of the stuff you can just straight up ignore. Like, just don't worry about it. That's my advice. Just don't worry about like half of the stuff unless it's needed, which that just comes with time. You know what I mean? I want to create an environment. Oh, okay. Perfect. Um, watch. Oh, what's his name? He does a lot of environment work, actually. Bum bum bum. Stylization. Um, he does a lot of character stuff. Um, but he also does a ton of um like animation breakdowns, which we're actually going to go through in a little bit. But he also does a lot of world stuff, a lot of actual like camera work, and getting the world and environment to work with you. Um, he's also learning Blender. Like he's new to everything. It's really cool to watch. I really like him. He's super funny too. But that's who I would recommend personally. And no, I don't use a drawing tablet. I would love to use a drawing tablet. Um, I actually have I have a bunch of artwork, which I'll start uploading it to the Discord. By the way, Discord links in the description for those of you on YouTube. Um, I'll start uploading those. Every single artwork that I've like ever done in 2D has been with a mouse. Um, it's really annoying actually. So I would love a drawing tablet, but no, I don't use one. But anyways, let me hold on. I think there's a if I could click the right buttons. Hello? Oh, there it is. I need the fingies. Can I select these? Is that a thing that you'll let me do? No. Okay. Can I select them this way? I can. Don't want to select these. Okay, cool. Now, I'll get rid of these. That is... We'll go ahead and get a little expansion. Go ahead and throw in another expansion here. Should we do this the opposite way, actually? I feel like we should do this the opposite way. So we'll have a little bit of unexpansion, I guess. And then on the downswings, we'll go ahead and expand them. Or maybe we doubled it. Okay, hold on. I done did messed it up. Okay. No. Negative. Maybe we should just get a tiny bit of swing. Maybe that's what we do. We ignore the scale and just get a little bit of swing. I guess we should select this side. And get a little bit of swing over here. And over here. And then the opposite over there. And then we'll swing up over here without the thumb. On this side. And paste that over here. Cool. I like that. Yeah, I think that's a lot better. The arm seems to be snapping. There we go. Well, something once again is going odd with this one. What did we do? It doesn't let me edit it. Maybe so. Oh. You're good, Brer. You're good. Let me move these back slightly too. Yeah, there we go. Then for this, we should probably come up a tiny bit. And then that snaps weird. Why does that snap weird? Right, because that's the follow through. Okay, there we go. And then I think we can add a little bit more bounce, yeah? Actually, what we probably need to do is add a drop here when the weight shifts backwards. And then we just smooth it out. Just get rid of these entirely. No. Oh, right. No? Wait, what? Right. Oh, so what do we need to put that at? 27? 26? There we go. This is a good loop now. Take a reference for animation, never enter it. Oh, yeah. I I have Pinterest pulled up on the other screen. Oh, yeah. Now, something that I am going to do, which might not bode well on stream, is use the Wiggle 2 add-on. The Wiggle 2 add-on is great, but it is an actual simulation. So if this gets super laggy, I'm gonna turn it back off. But it is how I normally deal with jiggly bits, if you will. We're gonna do somewhat of the same thing to the thighs. We're just gonna give them a little rotation. Probably nothing else. Probably just the thighs and up here. It's right here. We do also need to get a little bit more shoulder movement in there, but that's okay. But anyways, we're going to see if this is okay. Okay, no. The answer is absolutely not. But this is how I normally do the jiggly bits. Let's see if I can. I should probably select both of these actually. See if I can show y'all just a little bit. Which it's super slow right now, but you can see where the Wiggle 2 add-on would be very nice. And in cases, let me just delete these temporarily. Obviously, in cases where you're like running or something, that's where that would be useful. But like I said, it seems to not like me streaming and doing that. So we're not gonna do that. And that will also, that's just something that you'll have to bake out, which is fine. But yeah. I think this is a fairly okay walk cycle. All in all, what you should really pay attention to is the weight shifting normally happens around the hips. Um, that's where 90% of the actual weight shifting happens is in the hips. And you need to counter that with the shoulders. That's that's just how humans work, sort of thing. Um, and actually, like Prayer pointed out very nicely, which there actually seems to be some issues with it, but is the follow through animations. So ignoring the back, the front follow throughs are what you want to go for. That sort of secondary motion, just the slight sway forward with the motion, and then the actual planting of the feet. That also that's how you get a lot of the personality out of a walk cycle. Is when and where the feet plant. So if we were to take like the entire thing and shift it backwards, or like bring in the stride, that translates a ton of personality, which I will get into that in a second. Um, but that's where like 90% of your actual personality and your walk cycles will come from. And when you're doing something like a show, or like a short film, or something like that, you're going to want to pay attention to that, which again I'll explain a lot more about that in a second. But if you're doing something like a video game, unless you're doing something where each character is like super individual, you don't really need to pay attention to that. Something like this for every single character is totally fine. But for something like, again, a game that focuses entirely on characters that don't really change, you'll really, 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 really want to pay attention to how the personality translates through the walk cycle, the run cycle, even just like how they stand. That those are all extremely important. I'm going to take a slight break. We will come back and we'll talk about that some more. But this file will once again be on my Patreon. Links in the description for those on YouTube. And then yeah, I'll post this file on my Patreon. I'll actually go ahead and make this one free. I think I made last streams not free, but I'll make this one free. This is fine. I will see y'all in a couple minutes. Okay, we're back. Everything is still working. Okay, cool. Let me move chat back over here. Actually, we're gonna hide chat for a second. Okay. So I have a few videos pulled up. And they are examples, I guess, of exactly what to do and a few things of what not to do with 2D animation specifically, but a lot of it also applies to 3D animation. So I'm just gonna go through a little bit of it, and sort of break it down. But obviously, all of the things are not my own. I am demonstrating and watching them. Um, all of the fucking the things. Um, we are going to start with Ash Again by Gora, which not sure if y'all are into the VTuber space, I guess. But she's a VTuber that graduated from Hololive a little bit ago. This was her sort of like final song, I guess, to give y'all a little bit of reference of what's going on, I suppose. Which, to be fair, I have very little idea of what actually happened, yada yada. But very, very, very well done animation. So, if y'all are ready, we will start going through it. I just realized that y'all can't hear this. Hold on. There we go.
Face to face this time again. We walk once more to the end. Burn it down, burn it down. Waves can't put out my flame. Death will never write my name. Burn it down, burn it down. They say the memory of me is fading. I've heard it all before. Don't tell me everyone around is waiting. And they all say, carry turns to red, navigating sunken depths and all of its debris. And no more hands upon my words, they only speak for me. For all the ones who tried to silence thunder, I'm the wave that pulls you down and under. Every day I'll stand with me and I'll fight the drown of shallow seas. A ship sail winds of jealousy. I'll
Okay, so generally, that's Ash again. This is by far one of my favorite examples of like how to do how to do animation. Um, and earlier specifically, prayer. If you're still here, you. Oh wait, what? Oh no! Wait, was YouTube stream cut off? Hold on. That's good to know, actually. Bruh.